Welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast, proud to be the world's #1 community for brilliant childcare leaders. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches and are the top-selling childcare business book authors of all time. This episode is sponsored by Elif Childcare Insurance. Give Blake a call at 972-232-2258 to get a free quote on childcare business insurance today. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast our hosts, Brian and Carol Dupre.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Childcare Genius podcast. We're on episode 77 today, and I am Sindye Alexander. I am filling in for Brian and Carol Dupre, who are off living their best life. They're in Jamaica for 3 weeks, which is kind of crazy, but it's kind of amazing. It's the kind of the life that you might want to aspire to. So you have some of that time freedom from your business. They spent the first week as a leadership retreat where they're planning their year. This week right now, they have some clients who have joined them on a little retreat. And next week is their actual vacation. They're just working from, they call it their southern office or their tropical office or something like that when they're off doing work in Jamaica, their favorite place to be. So that's why I am here today, Sindye Alexander. And then I have one of my favorite people in the universe has joined us, Kym Pomares, and Kym is our lead coach or head coach on our team, and she works with childcare business owners who are either struggling in their business or just want to improve their business, and so she has a lot of insight. She also owned a school for how many years?
30 years.
30 years, a Spanish immersion school.
Which is amazing because I'm only 25.
It is amazing. It is amazing. And you don't look a day over. I don't know how you've kept your youthful looks. I aspire to
all
that.
Those kids, I guess, all those little ones.
Yeah, they keep you young. So Kym, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in childcare? Like how did you get into the business? A little bit about your journey, where you ended up, how you sold. So just tell your story real quick.
Okay, so I knew nothing about childcare. I do not have a background in childcare. I have a master's degree in audiology and speech pathology, which actually did help me through the years because you do study childhood disorders and things like that. So it did come into play, but I did not come from a early childhood background. My first experience was my own child. And she was a little difficult. And I remember being in a store trying to look at wallpaper, and the woman next to me, and I was trying to contend with my daughter. And the woman next to me said, "Have you ever thought about preschool?" So she'd had enough of my daughter also. Anyway, that was my absolute first exposure. And I was like, what is it? Where is it? How do, help. So I actually, she gave me a name of a woman who had a preschool who eventually became my partner. I enrolled my daughter and I started working there. And then I approached the owner about actually going into business together. And we did end up opening 3 schools together. And then the partnership ended very badly. I'll leave it at that at the moment. But anyway, I sold her, she bought me out of one, and then we each kept one of the other 2. So I kept what at the time was Courthouse Preschool. It was my favorite of all of them anyway. And so I was glad to have that one. So when that was opened in 1992, started with 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. Started with 10 2-year-olds, 1 3-year-old, and I think 12 or 14 4-year-olds, and did amazingly well, despite knowing absolutely nothing about business, nothing about what I was doing. Did remarkably well and grew and added kindergarten. And then I was walking down the hallway and there was a bulletin posted. I rent a space in the church. There was a post and it said, next year we're opening our own preschool. That was how I found out I was being kicked out. They never ever did come to me and say. So I had 9 months to move and there was nothing available. So I ended up searching for land and building a school. I had 9 months to do it. It rained 4 or 5 months out of the 9 months every flipping day.
Sounds like you accomplished a miracle.
It really was a miracle that it opened, because and we did get it open. Unfortunately, there was a lot of I lost a lot of my students. They stayed at the church preschool. So not only now did I have a lot more classrooms to fill, I lost a lot of my students. So I started off on the wrong foot right from the get-go. I had a huge mortgage. I went from paying, I think it was $750 a month in rent at the church to like a $25,000 a month mortgage. Yeah. So, whoa. And not knowing how to figure anything out, I didn't know what to charge for. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. So I struggled and struggled and struggled. I did always have Spanish education in the school, but it was just as a supplement. But then I made a really, really brilliant decision, because I had such good understanding of business. I decided to double the size of my building that was empty. So that's what I did. And right when we went to open the expansion, I got a letter from the IRS saying they were shutting me down because I owed $130,000 in back payroll taxes.
Oh no.
They never did shut me down, because I contacted the IRS immediately and worked out a payment and moved forward. But at the same time, my neighbor and friend, who was my accountant, he was handling my payroll and was not. Well, that was what the origin of the not paying the payroll taxes is. So anyway, I was coping with all of that, trying to keep my doors open, slowly sinking deeper and deeper and deeper in debt and losing more money every year. Somewhere along in there, I decided it was after my daughter went to Spain in college, and then she went and worked in a English immersion program in Spain. And she came back and she said, "Mom, you love the Spanish language. Why don't you do an immersion program?" And it was like a light bulb. It was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So that's what I did. We slowly transformed the school over into a dual immersion, Spanish immersion program, which was helpful in our enrollment, but at the time was really not enough to save me. By 2015, I was going bankrupt. I knew I was desperate. I knew I needed help. It was at that time I found out that you could get coaching in this industry, and I availed myself of coaching, and that it took about 18 months to 2 years to get things turned around to the point that I knew I was going to make it. I knew I had the tools. I knew I had, and you knew me back. You've known me ever since that. And you knew me when I literally couldn't utter a complete sentence without breaking down and crying. I cried all the time. I was so
the stress of the business will just overwhelm you, and sometimes like you can't even carry on a normal conversation without just tearing up over the smallest reason. So I totally get that, because I did also deal with some stress in my life as a childcare business owner. But it sounds like your coaching really, really, really helped you out, which is like my next question. I wanted to learn more about what happened with you in your coaching program. And, if you could just discuss like what you already told us what your business looked like, so we can go there, but like how did it change? How did it evolve? Because you ended up with a good selling story and a good payday. So absolutely. I'd love to hear about that journey.
So when I discovered that there was such a thing as coaching, I realized, okay, I'm a doer. I'm an implementer. I mean, I didn't know that completely about myself, but I knew I was willing to do what I needed to do. And so as a coaching client, I listened very carefully, and then I made sure I went and implemented what I was being taught. And I became known as an implementer because I could see very clearly where my business was going if I didn't do the things that I needed to do. And as it turns out, Brian was my coach, and he's an amazing guy with amazing amount of knowledge in this field and in lots of fields, but and he has such a way with people, good way with people, that I responded to the caring and the information and
practical strategies. Like he did spreadsheets with you, and like he showed you how to track things. And,
yes. So, one of my big challenges when I first met him was that I was in over 80, I think like around $86,000 in credit card debt, along with not making money, losing money. And he was with me all along to getting to the point where I did develop an income, and then did develop a little bit of money coming in that I could do something with. And he helped me. He gave me the idea of the credit card spreadsheet that I used to get myself out of all that credit card debt. And I did it in a year and a half.
$86,000 in a year and a half you paid off. That is amazing. That's what planning can do.
Absolutely, because prior to that, and I have talked about this, I lived with these numbers, just battling it out in my head. I knew I owed $86,000, and it prevented me from calming down and being able to move forward, with a plan. But just this example, the credit card spreadsheet, I could see it in black and white, and I could see the balances going down. When the credit card bill comes to you in the mail and you look at what you owe, you're not seeing any positive movement. Even if you are paying it down, you're just looking at this whopping amount that you own, and it's distressing. In the spreadsheet, you still see this amount is whopping and it's distressing, but you see that it's actually going in the right direction. And so it was so useful, Brian's information and input to help me set up things that would help me turn my business around.
Yeah, and you could see trends. Like you could see if you pay off this much every month, or if you do X, Y, or Z, you're adding more income, so you can pay it off, so you can pay it down quicker, and so you can kind of like forecast how long it's going to take. And when you can see that light at the end of the tunnel, it's more motivating, I think.
It's very motivating.
To stick with it.
Took so much of the stress off. I no longer had numbers fighting it out in my head. They were on my spreadsheet, and I could look at them. But then when I was not working with them, I could close my spreadsheet and go do what I needed to do to make more money, or whatever else it was I needed to do. And with that, one of the early kind of exciting things is when I got one of the credit cards paid off, I was like, wow, now I have however much it was I was paying, and I add that to the payment of the cards
of the other ones. Yeah.
And that was very motivating to think, okay, those are going to go down even faster now. Yeah. So it was nothing that I ever would have. It's not a difficult concept. It's a simple spreadsheet, but it is not anything that I, in my addled brain, would have been able to come up with. Coaching helped keep me focused and gave me information and ways to proceed.
And, obviously it really impacted you because like now, you have retired, you have sold your school, but you still carve out a couple hours every week to give back because you received so much help and you want to pass that along. And I really do appreciate that about you. Like you have this heart that is so big.
Thank you. My heart goes out, in coaching other people and in just conversations with other people in the industry. I see them struggle and my heart goes out to them because I lived it. I lived it, in a very intensive way. And if I can help them avoid any of that, cut corners to get out of it, that's what I want to do.
We sent recently, like in our Tuesday emails that we send out, I usually try to include a staff quote or an inspiring quote. And recently we shared one of yours. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was something like, no matter where you are in your business, if you look at your numbers and you look at where you're at and you make a plan, you can turn it around. You have that within you. And I love that that is your message that you're sharing. I mean, I might have paraphrased it, but it's essentially what you said.
And that is my message, is very much. And like when I spoke in Jamaica, I said, I'm sharing my story not because I feel like you're dying to know my story, but because I want you to understand that no matter where you are, no matter if you've screwed it up so badly that it looks like mine did, you can turn it around. You can change yourself and your business.
Yeah, and you did that really successfully. So proud of you for that. I'm so proud and honored that I get to work with you all the time now. Why don't let's shift gears a little bit. And why don't you tell us, from your work with other owners in the industry, what do you see as the biggest area that owners are struggling with right now in the industry?
So I've thought about that, and I think it's hard to pinpoint one area.
Okay, if you have a couple, that's fine.
Yeah, staffing continues to be an issue for all the schools, and I think that's something that's here, not necessarily to stay forever, but it is something that's going to be for a while. I think a whole mindset developed during COVID and all of this that is going to have to slowly shift among people in the workforce to change this. But it continues to be an issue. I think also all the behaviors, children have a lot of behavioral issues that have come about from COVID. And that's weighs heavily on school owners. But I think it's still really, most of it goes back to so many owners are spinning their wheels, working in their businesses. They're in the weeds, and they can't seem to step back and look at the big picture and figure out what they need to do to change their circumstances. And part of that, I mean, my big area, you can probably tell me talking about the credit card spreadsheet and all of that, is knowing your numbers, knowing where your business is financially. And in coaching, I'm finding that is really prevalent, where, and I think part of it is owners are embarrassed or reluctant to admit they don't know. They feel that
sometimes they don't even know what to track or what they're supposed to.
Well, that's very, very, very true. But very true. They don't know what to track, most of them. But even like using QuickBooks, there is a large percentage of businesses that don't use I don't know what they're using, but or they're using nothing. And it's, and nobody wants to say, hey, I don't know about that. I don't know how to do it. And I think there's so these people are suffering in silence.
I think part of what you said is that, like there's more than one thing that they're facing, and one of them is staffing, and one of them is working in the business rather than on the business. And it's kind of like this vicious cycle. You don't have enough staff, you're pulled back in. So you really need to get that taken care of. And so today, the day that we're recording this podcast, I actually did a webinar earlier today all about staff culture and about, hiring and keeping the right people in the right seats and all that. So if you're watching this, you can probably go back to childcaregenius.com on our resources page, and it will be posted as a freebie by then. But I think that it's really key that you get staffing right, so that way you can step back. You do have that time to work on your business and not be sucked into the classroom or into the office or into all of their problems. You can work on your business, set up those systems and procedures, set up your finances, analyze your numbers, meet with your accountant. But when you're having to work it all the time, you just physically can't do what you're supposed to do as an owner. So
I feel like if you do have some good employees, even if I think owners get bogged down in doing some of these tasks that they don't necessarily need to do, but they're thinking that they're saving time or money or whatever by doing it themselves, and they're not. They're entrenching themselves further in working in their business.
Yeah.
If you have some good employees, pay them an additional hour a week or and delegate some of these tasks that will free up some of your time to allow you to work on the bigger picture tasks that are going to help you take steps forward. Because you going and taking the trash out is not moving your business forward. It's just taking up time. But I get that it's a difficult.
And a lot of times people think that they're saving money by doing it themselves. But if you consider that you're probably paying your employees in the neighborhood of $15 an hour, could be more depending on their position in your economic area, okay? Could be less. Your time is worth a minimum of $50 an hour. So if we're using that scale, you're actually costing yourself $35 an hour by doing something that could be delegated. So that's another way to look at it.
Yep.
So I hope I did that math right. But you get the idea.
Despite being big into knowing my numbers, I cannot do math. So you could have told me anything.
Spreadsheets have formulas.
Yes. Yay. That's what.
All right. So back in September, we had our first ever Child Care Genius Conference. It was a leverage conference in Jamaica just for owners, and your husband joined us on that trip, and I really enjoyed getting to know both of you a little bit better. But can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was with him, as part of being in the audience? Like, was there anything that he learned or you learned, or, just from you were also a speaker, but from an audience perspective, tell us about your feelings about being there.
So from his perspective, he only came to listen to me.
He's been there, done that, over with it. How about for you?
He did enjoy being out by the pool a lot. So anyway, as a participant, it was without a doubt the best conference I've ever been to.
I agree. It was really good.
It was nothing short of amazing. I mean, we were there for a week, beautiful place to be, amazing people to be with. But the way the conference was designed, it was just so good. We had speakers in the morning up until lunchtime, and the content was great. And it was enough content to be very valuable, but not like trying to sip from a fire hose, where you're just so overwhelmed, you don't know what to do. It was enough content to be actionable, and it was good content. And then we broke, and then we had everybody went to lunch or whatever. And then we had offered poolside coaching, and which turned into just
networking,
an amazing time all the way around. I mean, I think almost everybody went and hung out by the pool and got to know each other in ways that just aren't possible at conferences.
Oh, and I got to witness you winning that contest. What was that contest? Like the swimming from one side to the other? Like you beat out a whole bunch of youngsters.
That was so I'm going to share, because that was my 15 minutes of glory. So the resort put on these races or contests or one thing or another. And so they did one. They said, okay, it's going to be 10 push-ups, and then you swim across the pool, which was not a skinny pool. Swim across the pool and swim back. And I like to swim and I work out. So I'm like, okay, well, what the heck? So all these people, I want to say people, they were kids, they were in their 20s, were doing it. They did it one at a time, and they timed you. So all these young buff guys did it, and then I did it, and the guy who won did it in 31 seconds, and I did it in 32 seconds.
Yeah, that was like, holy moly. Like the whole crowd was going wild for you. That was so fun. So that's another fun aspect of the conference.
I had people come up to me all the rest of into the night saying, like, we got on the elevator and this young couple was on there, and they looked at me and they went, "You're Kym." "You're Kym." And I went, "Yeah." And I thought they must be at the conference. So I'm trying to place them as owning a school. And they're like, "Well, yeah, we saw you swim. You rocked. And that guy cheated on his push-ups and you really won." Then I told him, I said, "Yeah, and I'm old enough to be his grandmother. I'm 68. And they were like blown away.
Yeah, so the resort did have a lot of fun activities that you could participate in outside of the conference time. And we left time for that fun. So you could not only, have that, the conference, but you could relax and get some of that time freedom and have time to process what you learned, and maybe in the afternoon go back and implement, make a plan.
So I've been attending the conferences since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were people there that I've known since 2015. This conference, with that setup, I got to spend more time getting to know these people than I have all the time together from previous conferences. I mean,
and that networking
really,
is so important. You really get a lot of ideas and insight from networking with other people. You learn that you have some of the same struggles, or you solve problems, the same problem in different ways. And so,
well, if you spent any time at the pool at all, you without a doubt would have come away making some friendships, some relationships that you could continue to maintain and reach out to when you're struggling with something. I mean, that's how Lisa Giancarli, the coach Giancarli, or Professor Giancarli, and I, we met way back, and and would touch base on, hey, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. What do you think? Kind of thing. And so this conference allowed, I think, a lot of people to find people that they could be close to.
I'm so happy that from both a speaker and an audience perspective, you really enjoyed it. I know we all put a lot into putting that on. Of course, we're going to have it again next year. Tickets are not on sale now, but you can get on the wait list on our website for that if you're interested. And I think in the spring, probably after the live conference, we'll release tickets to that. So that's coming soon. So thanks for sharing your experience. But you've been on our coaching team for just over a year now. So can you tell our audience what you like best about Child Care Genius University?
Well, there are a lot of things I like a lot, but probably what I like the best is that we have one-on-one coaching.
Makes a difference.
I think, like when I was saying people are reluctant to admit to, I don't know QuickBooks, or I don't, this, that, or the other thing. They don't want other people to know. And I understand that. If you're in a group coaching situation, you're not going to speak up. You're not going to share the depth.
Real.
Your real, what's really going on. You want to save face. Where in one-on-one coaching, it's private, it's not being shared, and you can bare your soul and dig deep into what's going on. And that's when you really start making changes, when you're honest with your coach about what's going on.
Yeah, and you get your head out of the sand. I used to say that I had like an ostrich syndrome or something. I made up, I can't remember it now, but like, Sindye, get your head out of the sand, because you're not looking at what's important. You're just pretending it doesn't exist, and the problem gets bigger. So one-on-one coaching can really help you get out of that mentality.
For me, is probably the biggest, but just the coaches, the quality of the coaches, the quality of what they know, and everybody is so approachable. Everybody is naturally approachable and friendly, but we also very intentionally do not want people to feel left out, or this clique is more important than this clique, or I'm better than you. We're very intentional about trying to be sure that everybody is included.
And you are a big part of that. So thank you for sharing with our audience what you like about the university. My last question for you, we just spent a lot of time talking about the Leverage conference that we've already attended, but pretty soon we're going to have our Child Care Genius Live conference in Las Vegas. That's going to happen in April. And you're going to be one of the featured speakers there. So why do you think somebody should attend? And again, this conference is for owners and directors with a separate track, all 3 days for directors and all 3 days for owners. So you're really going to get dialed in information. So that's my little spiel, but like, why do you think someone should attend?
Well, I think it's important to attend because, one, there's so much great information and content that will be shared that will help owners steer their businesses. And there are a lot of conferences out there, and there are a lot of good ones, but like I shared before, I feel the quality of our speakers is so high, and their passion for helping is so high, that if you're going to select a conference, select this one.
Yeah, I do agree with you that passion and that approachability really makes a difference, because not only are you learning from them, like on the stage, but then they're so willing just to sit and talk with you and dig into any aspect of what they presented on, and you really can get to know them and really go as deep as you want to go. So I love that you brought that up.
Is where you take in all this from the speaker, but then you're very much discouraged from approaching anyone. And if as the school owner, if I try to reach out, it's because I need help, or I want want some help, or I want to say thank you for sharing, or whatever. But and I just feel like our team is so open to all of that. Yeah. And I also, just speaking from our previous conference and the energy and the, there won't be as much time for the downtime.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
However, the content and being there with these amazing people is rejuvenating. I always felt much better prepared to deal with my business after kind of a conference injection.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, and thank you for sharing that. I think, I do want to let our listeners know a little bit more about the Las Vegas conference, the Child Care Genius Live, and you can find information about that on our website as well. Just click under the conference tab and choose either Leverage or Live. And it's April 14th to 16th. Again, it's 3 days. And all 3 days we have a director's track and an owner's track. The third day we have dedicated subjects. So we're going to be doing a leadership boot camp in one room, and that's aimed at directors or owners that really want to up-level their leadership. And then in the other room, we're going to be having an expansion boot camp. So anything that you want to do to grow or scale your business, Brian is going to be leading that with some other experts, and lots of great content on that day. So that's a great reason to attend. There's all kinds of info on our website, and you can still save money on your tickets. I believe this podcast is airing at the end of January, and so you have until the last day of January to save $100 on your tickets. So whatever that day that happens to fall. So be sure to go and grab a ticket, bring your team. And Kym, thank you so much for joining me, on this impromptu podcast, so we can let Brian and Carol live their best life and just kind of have a chat between friends. I really enjoyed this time.
It has been my pleasure, and it's always so much fun to spend time with you. I just thoroughly enjoy it.
Thank you. And for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Child Care Genius podcast. You can connect with us on Facebook. We have a free mastermind group for owners. We have a mindset group for owners and anybody in the child care field. Those are free. You can go look us up. Like our page, just connect with us wherever we're online, because we want to connect with you. So I hope to see you join the ranks in some of those groups, and join us back here next week. Or I think Brian and Carol are back on the next episode, and join us for more future podcast insights. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Child Care Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your childcare business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Child Care Genius community.